Well, let's take a look at an example. We're going to try to come up with the best overbooking policy for the Hotel Vista Bella. And let's say they can sell each of their rooms for an average of $250, and their variable cost for that room is $50. So basically, a cost of an empty room is $200. If they have to walk a guest, they estimate that it's going to cost them about $500. So we've got the cost of walking $500, cost of an empty room of $200, and they've kept track of their no-shows for Thursdays for the past 6 months. And they found the following distribution. So 10% of the time they had 0 no-shows. I'm saying probability, but this is just the chance that this had occurred in the past. 15% of the time they had 1 no-show, and so forth. So we've got the cost of walking, we've got the cost of empty, and then we've got the probability distribution. So, okay, now what are we going to do? Well, we've got this information, but let's take a look to see what would happen if we said, we are so good and pure, we would never overbook. We're not that type of person. Does that cost us? Well, let's take a look at this. Because if we don't overbook at all, well, 10% of the time we don't have any no-shows, so we'd be perfect 10% of the time. But the other 90% of the time, we're going to have some empty rooms. So 15% of the time, we're going to have 1 empty room, and 25% of the time, we're going to have 2 empty rooms. And there is a cost associated with that, because remember that each empty room costs us $200. It's an opportunity cost. So let's see, how much does this actually cost us? So 15%, okay, 15% is $200, so that's going to be about $30. And 25% of the time, we have 2 empty rooms. And so 25% of the time it's going to cost us $400. 30% of the time we have 3 empty rooms, so that's going to cost us $600. And so we start going on like this, but basically we could calculate this out. So 10% of the time we're perfect. 15% of the time it cost us $200. 25% of the time it cost us $400. Then 30% it cost us $600. And then you kind of so on, but when we add these up, it cost us $480. So not overbooking at all definitely cost us. There is an opportunity cost. And so when we're trying to come up with the best overbooking policy, we're trying to come up with the one that has the minimum cost to us. Because there's always, it's a chance, right? Because we've got these probabilities. We're never going to be assured of being absolutely perfect, but we're trying to do this so that we keep our cost to a minimum. And so let's say we decide we're going to overbook by 1. Well, 15% of the time will be perfect because 15% of the time there's 1 no-show, but 10% of the time we don't have any no-show. So if you don't have any no-shows and you've overbooked by 1, you're going to have to walk somebody. So that would cost us $500. 25% of the time we're going to have 2 no-shows. Okay, well, we overbooked by 1, so if we have 2 no-shows, we've got 1 empty room. So it's going to cost us $200. And 30% of the time we have 3 no-shows, so we'd have 2 empty rooms, so that would be $200 a room, so $400. And we could kind of continue on in this vein. But eventually you're going to see that it costs you $350 to overbook by 1 room. So 10% of the time it's $500, 15% of the time it is perfect, 25% of the time it's going to cost you $200, and so forth. So it's cheaper to overbook by 1 than it is to overbook by 0. It was $350 to overbook by 1 room, and it was $480 to overbook by 0. And so we could continue with this. We could figure out how much it costs to overbook by 2 rooms, by 3 rooms, etc., and see if you can figure this out in one of the exercises that we have for you. But this is kind of a long way to go about figuring out the most profitable overbooking strategy. In the next video, I'll show you a trick that you can go through and do this very, very quickly.